when you're building a business, and it's no different to building a life, different to building a relationship, a body that serves you, you need to build it so that it serves you. That's the whole point. You don't build a business to serve other people. Yes, you serve them through your product or your services, but the business should serve you. And really honored to have Dr. Megan Kelly join us today, because from not being able to be a vet and studying as a veterinary nurse, then becoming an actual vet, and then going into online pet health, and you think, how the hell does that work? And not only today running a successful business in South Africa, but a global icon, somebody that's globally recognized for her work and has built a business that serves her. And if you think podcasts are good, you can go to her website, onlinepethealth.com, and one of 213 episodes you'll find where she's adding value to her industry, but pretty much to everybody. And the last one in particular I thought was really good because it talks about personal mastery. So Megan, really an honor to have you join us today. Really looking forward to learning from you and the importance of creating a thriving business and a platform that serves you and what you want out of life and where your passions are. And I think you've definitely done that. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Harry. I'm really honored to be here. And yeah, I've got really hard shoes to follow. All the amazing speakers before me. Thanks to each and every one of you for all the inspiration that you shared. And I really hope that my story and my journey today will be just as inspirational to each and every one of you. So a little bit about me. I live in Cape Town. I've got 3 beautiful girls. I live with my husband. We've got 2 dogs. And probably soon to have some ponies in our family too, because I've got 2 daughters that ride, and my 7-year-old especially, who's absolutely addicted to horse riding. So as Harry mentioned, I did veterinary nursing first, and actually at school, I was told that I wasn't clever enough to be a vet. I had always wanted to be a vet my whole life and grew up loving horses. I was a horse rider myself. And I remember speaking to the guidance counselor and saying that I wanted to be a vet. And we did these sort of tests where you had to see sort of where you think that you'd be, your direction would be. And I remember she said to me that I was going to be an interior designer. That's what she said. That was where my skills were. And I said, no, I want to be a vet. And she said, you're not clever enough. And I remember just being completely demotivated. And I'm really, really gutted. And I ended up actually listening to her. And I went to do home economics for matric and thought, okay, well, if I could do anything else, maybe I would be a physiotherapist for animals. And there was a course in the UK that if you were a veterinary nurse, you could get into this. So that's how I did veterinary nursing. So I didn't really have an intention to be a veterinary nurse. But what was wonderful is my first year at veterinary met a really inspirational professor. And his name is Prof. Berry, and he said, you should be a vet. And I said, I've always wanted to be a vet. And he said, well, go and do it. And I finished my veterinary nursing and went to the first year BSc and got into veterinary. And so my journey in veterinary was a very long one. You know, I'd always wanted to be a vet, did vet nursing first, did veterinary. I went on to do a postgraduate certificate in the States in veterinary rehabilitation. And so you know, once I started being a vet, it was really my dream come true. But one thing I realized quite quickly was that I was very limited by my time. And I'm the kind of person that likes to do sports and likes to hang out with my friends and do fun things. But, you know, veterinary, you know, it looks like to everyone else, it's this glamorous life of like hugging and kissing puppies. But we work really long hours. So, I mean, I used to get to work at 7:30 in the morning and I'd leave at 7:30 at night. So it was really, really hectic, long hours. I would work every second Saturday. Before the after-hour clinic opened up in Cape Town, we'd be on call every second night or every second weekend. And so there wasn't really a lot of time for myself, for me to do the sports that I enjoyed to do. And I even missed my 30th birthday party. So I wasn't actually on call. I hadn't planned it that way. But at 6:30, a dog with a foreign body in its intestines came in, and I had to do an emergency surgery and remove an action hero from this dog's intestines. And I got to my birthday party at like 11:15 or so. So yeah, this sort of time thing for me started quite early, where I had to find a way in which I could still do what I love to do, but still have a little bit more time for myself. So having qualified and done my postgraduate certificates, I decided in 2007 to open up my own practice. It was called Holistic Vet, and it was a specialty practice. So there were only at that stage 2 vets in the country that had done that specialty. And I was loving consulting, just making a difference in pets and owners' lives. And things changed quite a bit when I had my first child in 2010. So being only one of 2 vets in the country that had that speciality, I had a 3-week waiting list. And so there were dogs that were in extreme pain. I used to have people that would call me and, you know, their dog was screaming in pain. And that's one of my specialities, is pain management, doing acupuncture. And I couldn't say no to these people, but by saying yes to them, I was missing out on a lot of my child's early years. I had a friend who used to have to take my child to swimming lessons. When my child was sick, she would take my child to the doctor. And I had to make a decision, you know. I kept on asking myself this question. I just wasn't feeling right about the way things were in my life. And I asked myself the question, when I die, do I want to be known as a good vet or a good mother? And don't get me wrong, I did still think I was a good mother. I just wasn't the mother that I wanted to be. And so I had to make a decision to change things. And I started thinking about how I could do that. So I wrote down what I wanted. I wanted to be flexible enough that if my children needed me, I could be there for them. I wanted my earning potential not to have a ceiling and be limited by my time. I didn't want my geographical location to affect my day-to-day. We love to travel as a family, and I wanted to be able to do this really easily. And I recall in the early days of having my kids having to go back on the 2nd of January from holidays, and my kids and my husband still being on the beach enjoying holiday while I was back at work. And I didn't want that. And I also wanted to have freedom in my day, not to have to work a 9 to 5, but work the hours that suited me. So I'm not a lazy person. I'm actually the opposite. I'm a workaholic. So it's not that I didn't want to work. I just wanted to do the work when I wanted to do it, and still be able to spend time with my family and be able to live the life that I want to with them. So looking at all those things, I decided that online was probably the way to go. And, you know, I know we've all been chatting a lot about COVID and how things have changed for everyone. You know, I made this transition so many years ago, before COVID. But, you know, you can work from anywhere. You can be flexible. Obviously, being a vet, my online tech skills were very limited. So I set out to learn as much as I could. So my first attempt was mildly successful at achieving my list. It wasn't 100% online, but the ordering and the shop were. So I started a products company designing harnesses and braces for dogs with mobility issues. I also imported some products into South Africa and distributed and sold them. It ticked most of the boxes, but I encountered problems, especially when I traveled. I'm a bit of an A-type personality, so the quality control was always a problem for me, and especially if I wasn't there, I didn't like it if the quality went out and it wasn't good. And I was also dealing with couriers and collections. So the amount of time that I was putting into it and the return that I was getting just wasn't worth it. And so I eventually sold that business. The next attempt was creating some online courses. And these were for pet owners. So they were called the 12-week strengthening program. I went on to create 3 different courses, 3 ebooks, and I sold them. I had a massive tech learning curve doing these. I ran the entire business myself. It's amazing what you can learn from YouTube and Google. I didn't know how to do any developing. I used to just Google it. And so I remember doing a webinar, and I did it with a colleague of mine, and I sold all my courses in a bundle. I remember for $99, and I was just excited. I thought maybe I can sell one. And I finished the webinar and I logged into my PayPal, and I was just amazed. It was just $99, just going off like 30 times. And I thought, well, now this is something that I think would work. You know, I'm making a difference. I'm still using my veterinary career. I'm changing the lives of animals and people everywhere. And I'm not limited geographically myself. And I'm also not limited by the radius of people around my practice. I'm really helping animals all over the world. So I carried on with that business and then also started another one. So this is called Online Pet Health. And this happened because of the need for myself. So continuing education is something that professionals need to do on a yearly basis in order to keep up their degree. And I wasn't getting enough continuing education. And so was looking for a way in which I could learn more. And I met a colleague of mine in Uppsala in Sweden, and he was teaching about kinesiotaping, which is that tape. I don't know if you've seen those athletes that run and they have all that tape strapped on them. So that's quite a new thing in animals. And so I actually wanted him to come out to South Africa, and it was going to end up being too expensive for him to come. So he suggested we should do it as a webinar. And so I said to him, okay, and I Googled how to do a webinar, found an online company that did it called Webinar Ninja. There was no Zoom in those days. And I just did the webinar, and I asked people in South Africa who wanted to attend, and we divided the cost. And then they said, when's the next one? So I said, okay, I'll organize the next one. And this carried on with them saying, can we do one every month? And can we divide it so we pay monthly? And I still actually was continuing on with my pet owner courses, thinking that this would just be a side thing for me. And I said, yeah, well, we can carry on doing it. It'll just be for South Africans. And then I had people asking, can my friend in the UK join? And can my friend in Australia join? So fast forward to today, I've got 850 members from 57 different countries. And I earn in dollars and euros, which is great at times, obviously for the exchange rate depending. So yeah, it's been an absolutely amazing journey. And I now have 12 people that work for me. So I started off with just being myself, doing every single thing in the business. And as we've got bigger, I'm able to expand and get more team members into the business. What has been a major game changer for me is a subscription-based membership. So what that means is people pay me on a monthly basis to have access to the library of recordings. So there are over 300 hours of learning in there. And this really made a massive difference for me, because I think back to my veterinary practice days where you used to start on the first day of the month at 0, and you'd wait until that break-even day and just really hope that you reach that before the end of the month. Now I know exactly what I'm going to earn every single month. We have a few people that cancel, but we always have more new members than we have cancellations. So I always know that I'm in profit. And I am now really able to focus 100% on my members, which makes such a difference to working. Because, for them, they can see that. I never have to worry about, is there enough money to pay my staff? Is there enough money to pay any of the overheads that I have? Because I know every single month that we do. And as long as we continue to grow, it is a wonderful business model to have. And it's one of my suggestions that I'm going to make in the next slides. So these are the 10 lessons that I have learned throughout all the businesses that I've had. And I really hope that these lessons help each and every one of you. And what I want to say is that just because you have studied something doesn't mean that you need to carry on doing that. And, every single day I have people say to me, oh, I wish I could be a vet. You're so lucky. And I remember, wanting to shift and change, into something that wasn't from practicing to something that wasn't practicing. I remember thinking, is this the right thing? I should carry on being a vet. This is what I've studied. But I'm still using my veterinary degree, and I'm still learning, and I'm growing as a vet, even though I'm not practicing, and I'm still helping animals. And that was really what my passion was. So the first lesson is to create a business that doesn't need you to run it. And this is something that I had intentionally really set up because I wanted to have flexibility. And I knew eventually, once I had a team, that I needed them to be able to know what to do. In the early days of running my practices, I remember just, winging it, I would say. Somebody would come and you'd employ somebody and you'd say, right, this is what you need to do. And then I'd get frustrated because they didn't do it right, or they kept on asking me how to do it. And so I learned very quickly that you need to create systems and processes in your business and then create a standard operating procedures manual with all of those in. And what happens when you have that is that if somebody new comes to work for you, you can show them exactly the manual and they can follow it. And then it's exactly how you want things to be done. They don't have to keep coming and asking you. If somebody's sick in the team, it's very easy for other people to follow. Keep your overheads low. So I work from home, and this is one thing which was such a benefit for me in the pandemic. I didn't have any rental that I had to cover. So we worked from home. Obviously, because we were online, there wasn't actually a much change to my business like most people. If anything, my business actually grew through COVID because everyone made that shift to online. But you really want to keep your overheads as low as possible. And this also helps to help in recession times, to recession-proof your business. Use a subscription model. So I've elaborated on this and how wonderful this has been for me and for my business. But it doesn't only have to be for online. I mean, I've got a great example. We have a window cleaning business that comes and cleans our windows, and we pay them on a monthly basis. And I've got a debit order that just goes off. So brick and mortar practice businesses can quite easily use this, and it can be such a great income source for your business, and just give you a little bit of peace of mind that you know that that income is coming in every single month. We've had a lot of people talk about your team, and I can't say so much more how important it is to have a great team to support you. One of the things that I learned, though, is to make sure that the team that you employ have the same core values as you. And that's a lesson that I learned. You know, I would employ people, and they were lovely people and, you know, great people, but just something wasn't aligned with them and myself. And it often comes to core values. So it could be to the ethics, it could be the way in which they work. And when your core values are aligned with your team, that's when you really start to shine and work well together. Be brave. So, you know, as a vet, obviously going into an online world, I had to be really brave to just tackle that and just think, okay, well, I'm just going to try. Sometimes we're so scared to make mistakes, but you got to just risk it. So the risk that we got to take, you just got to do the work and have a look and see, you know, is this a risk that I'm prepared to take? And if you're going to do it, then do it and be brave. Find a great mentor or coach. In the early days of my online business, I really didn't have anyone. And it's only probably in the last year or two that I've actually got myself a coach. And it's made such a difference to me to have somebody to bounce ideas off, to help you and to give you direction, and just to guide you. So I can really recommend that. Create goals for your business. When I had my vet practice, I really was just vetting. That's all I did. I mean, I was there to treat animals, and every year I did the same thing. And then when I got my online business, I changed my point of view. I thought, no, I want to achieve different things. I had goals that I wanted to achieve. And so right now we have a goal of 1,000 members. And that's what I'm aiming for by the end of the year in my online pet health business. But when you've got a goal, the reason that it's so great is because you have direction, you know where you're going. And so when an opportunity comes your way, you have a decision to say yes or no. And if you don't know where you're going and you don't have any goals, you will say yes to things that don't take you in the right direction for your business. Once you know your direction and you know what you're hoping to achieve, it's so much easier to make decisions in your business. And I learned that the wrong way. So I spent many, many years saying yes to things and actually zigzagging my way eventually to where I ended up. You still eventually get there, but it just takes you a whole lot longer, and your path to success is a whole lot quicker. A lot of us will fear failure. It's one of those things, and I think as children, we don't want to fail. But I really embraced that and changed the way I see that now. And there's a saying that says, you either win or you learn. And I really, really embrace that now. And what happens is, if you see every time you fail, when you make mistakes as a learning opportunity, every time you learn, you just get better at making the right decisions, and you tend to start winning more. So yeah, I would really recommend that you guys don't see your mistakes as, even if they're bad ones, you know, they might be really bad ones. Just say to yourself, what is the lesson here? What am I supposed to learn from here? And there is a reason that everything happens. Now, women, I always talk about women's intuition, and I think as women, we are really intuitive. And I, in the early days, never listened to my gut. I always used to listen to what everyone else said because I thought that they were more experienced and they knew better than I did. And as the years have gone by, I've really started to listen to myself. So when I have a gut feeling about something, I go with it now because there's a reason for that feeling. And it's 99.9% is the right decision to make. So yeah, go with your gut and trust yourself. When you have a feeling about something, there's a reason for it. And the last one is to be a master of your time. So having 3 kids, I'm juggling lots of balls. And it's really tricky trying to work, take kids to extramurals, do all the things that we need to do as a family. And what I now do is just make sure when I am working, I am moving the needle in my business and I'm making sure that I am using my time to the max. And the way in which I've done this is really just to study time maximization and using time more efficiently. And I have a thing that I do every single day. I write down my 3 musts, and those are the 3 things that I need to do the next day. And there are 3 things that are important and are going to change my business. So they're either going to generate income or they're going to move the needle in my business. And I make sure that I always do those things. And then I also do time blocking. So I say, I know exactly the next day, what I'm going to do between 9 and 10:30. I'm doing this, and I stick by it. And try really not to let all those distractions come our way, no scrolling through Facebook and social media and all those things that can zap all your time from you. So I really hope that these 10 lessons and my journey has inspired you. And I just want to say that, just because you studied something or just because you label yourself as something, like myself as a vet, doesn't mean you can't change direction. And it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter what age you are, you can change and be whatever you want to be. As long as you have the passion for it and you have something that drives you and you enjoy doing it, you can always change what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Megan, thanks very much. That was brilliant. And a big middle finger to the guidance counselor that said you weren't clever enough, because what you shared today, just your journey, we've learned a lot from you. So thank you to her for the rubbish advice. And it shows you that sometimes people will give you rubbish advice and, trust your gut anyway, which leads into a question. We don't have a lot of time for questions, but we'll take the one from CJ, where he asked, how do you differentiate between your ego and your gut?
Yeah, when I think about for me, I think when I was younger, maybe that ego was more of a problem. When I'm talking about the gut, I'm talking about more major decisions that you're making. It's a really good question. I think that as you get, the more advanced you get and the more you do business, you start to realize that you have to push that ego aside. So there is no ego when you're doing business, when you're networking, when you're having meetings, when you're making decisions, when you're working with your team. So probably ego was something that I had when I was younger, and it left me because it was never to my benefit. So yeah, your gut you will feel inside is like what drives you, what's your passion, and hopefully it will be giving you the right decisions that you need to make. Absolutely.
Megan, thank you very much. I think a lot of value. Those 10 points are brilliant, but just the journey and the story is very insightful and inspirational for so many people. And trusting yourself and your gut is critical to going forward.